Jason, I'll make
All
a
right,
motion to open.
They did a great job last year.
I second that.
Okay. I guess we're open at 5:02. So we have a number of things on the agenda. I think anything that needs a decision, because we're pretty limited with an hour, especially some of these reopening topics that might get a little lengthy. I want to just talk about anything that absolutely needs a decision tonight and the reopening. Anything that's just updates, we can just get those in an email. Does that sound about right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right. Let me share my screen here. I'll bring up the agenda. All right. So obviously, COVID-19 concerns is a big topic. So let's get into that. Start with spring programs.
Would you like me to start with that now, or did you want to go through the agenda?
Let's just go item by item because we might not get to everything on the agenda. So.
Okay. Would you like me to start, Jason, or would you like to start things off?
Yeah, I mean, as far as spring programs go, I know baseball is not a parks program, but I can give a quick update on that. We're meeting as a MAC league next Tuesday. I haven't heard about the softball league, and obviously the date is we hope to be open for as of June 29th. That was phase 2 reopening, right? So I saw in phase 1. I saw that phase 1 is June 9th, and youth activities can come back in a limited capacity, but I didn't see any direction around what a limited capacity meant or what severe restrictions meant. So to me, I think it's June 29th, phase 2, before we can get anything started.
Yeah, I saw that too, and my interpretation of that was that for phase 2 was, recreation sports that would be more like practices, and teams would have to practice at least a little bit before the games. And then phase 3, which the earliest would be June 29th, would be, actual tournaments, games, things like that. That's how I interpreted it. But because it's so vague, it's hard to say. I don't think that, you're held to one or the other. But if you were to try to pick one out, I think that's what that's stating, is that you can get teams out on a field and do stuff with them on June 8th, but then for games and things like that, June 29th seems to be what they're stating.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have to wait a couple of weeks or maybe a week till we get some further instruction on that. I would hope that there be some clarification. But I think for us, I don't think we're not going to just start our programs, June 9th or June 10th, that we're just going to, okay, now we're out practicing. I think we should wait a couple weeks anyway. And we don't even know if June 9th is going to be the hard date too. So I don't think we can plan on that. What do we need for a lead time to be able to get people out there though? That's the question.
In terms of field preparation or in terms of announcing to people and get coaches and everything ready to go?
That communication, getting people ready.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for the most part and Sarah can speak to this. I think Sarah's here. I lost my cascade. But so Sarah can speak more to where the U8 through U4 soccer is. U10 and above has been canceled. That season is officially canceled at this point.
You're not doing anything in the summer.
Correct.
Right.
Does that include the Tournament of Champions or whatever that trail is that Neshoba Valley Youth Soccer leads into?
I believe it does. I didn't look. When I looked on the website the other day, they didn't have anything really posted on there.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe Neshoba Valley is just done until fall. That's my understanding. I take that back. I think that towns took the option of pulling themselves out, and Ayer Shirley pulled themselves out of it. But I don't anticipate there's going to be anything for U10 and above. But for U4 through U8, we still have, and I'll let Sarah speak to it, but options were put to parents based on the recommendations from the commission at the last meeting to let them choose if they wanted to get a refund right now or if they wanted to continue on. And from from the emails that I saw, it was a pretty split mix. I'd say more tended to be wanting the refund, but then there was also unless Sarah got some that I didn't see, a fair number of non-respondents. But I'll let Sarah speak to that.
It's kind of a little bit of both. I feel like for the younger, especially the U4, most are wanting to look at that refund at this point. I think you see more of the wanting to hold on as the U6, U8. So still enough to hold on to, we could have a smaller team, smaller sessions if, the state does allow it come summer.
Okay. So my guess on that would be coming back after July 4th, maybe. I don't even know what date the holiday's on or what day of week it is.
Yeah. So the 6th would be a Monday. The holiday's on that Saturday.
Okay. And so those people don't really need practice, right? Like you can just start your season and.
Correct. Yep. Exactly. And they've all been, in communication. So it's not like they're not aware of us waiting for that guidance from the state.
You have half the people though that want refunds. Are there enough people left to have teams? And
yeah, because I think you're not going to have teams of 10 or 12 at that point, but which is exactly what you don't want right now. You'd still have the smaller teams.
Yes, and also, Sarah, if I recall from the projection early in the spring, it was looking to be bumping the program to 6 teams as opposed to 4.
Correct.
So probably go back to 4, which is
correct. Yep.
Which you really only need like 25 players to make that happen.
Right.
And would that be the full, what is it, usually 7-8 week season, or are you going to condense it down to a few weeks?
We've been doing 6 or
sessions?
7 weeks for the younger kids. So, if you started in July, you could still do, we could do either option. 6 weeks puts you like August 8th, which is still early in the summertime, before we go back to school anyways.
Yeah, I would make a recommendation that a decision to be made on that to be done on or about June 7th, and then it would be, you would at that point be able to put together some information for parents to let them know what they could or couldn't do from being able to play or not being able to play. I think that's a reasonable goal to set for making a decision on that. Because then, if you're waiting beyond that, it's going to be very hard. I think that was your point, Jason. It'd be very hard to organize it much quicker than that. But if you could make a decision by June 7th, if you wanted to have a summer season or not, then I think that there should be enough information by then. I know having these absolute dates, well, we're going to let you know on this date or that date. Everything's fluid, but that's my recommendation would be making a decision on the soccer and, it's probably the group for baseball, but for baseball even on June 7th. I think that's, the time that you could make, that's your last chance to kind of say, you know what, we can pull a summer season together if we start now.
Right. I mean, my personal opinion on it is just cancel it altogether. I don't know. We're not going to have, I know Jack was going to play baseball. We're not going to have them out there. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near safe enough. And what is it even going to look like with kids on masks and stuff? So my personal opinion would be to just cancel it outright. But obviously, I know people don't have the same opinion and like to, we got to put it up to the board to vote on it. If people want to risk it, that's their prerogative, I suppose. But I just want to have that out there. Okay. I think that's right. We wait till that date, June 7th or thereabouts, to see if we can make a final decision on that then. we're not going to have another meeting by then, so I think we should designate, obviously, Sarah and Jeff to make that, Jeff Testa and Jeff Thomas to make that final call, or enable the board, the Air Youth Soccer Board, to make that call without the commission.
Okay.
And then baseball will make their own decision, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. Right. I mean, I suppose we could prohibit them from the fields if the fields aren't open, but it sounds like the park and athletic fields are going to be open, so it'll be the baseball board to decide on that.
Yes, and so just moving on from there, the next one is for camps and swim lessons. So for summer camps and swim lessons, again, because of the personal contact, I've talked to Heidi about this. Her leaning right now is that she doesn't think swim lessons are a realistic thing, but she's still holding out some hope for it and wants to hear other people's opinion on it. I'm also of the opinion that summer camps are going to be reaching a very difficult point. And both of those have the issue of having volunteers working with very direct contact with children. And there's a lot would have to change for that to happen. And all of those need a little more organizational time to get those together. Registrations still haven't obviously gone out yet. So my thought on that was making a decision on that also on that same date, on that June 9th date. I believe that's what it was. June 7th, I'm sorry. Is that correct? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what you said. Well,
June 9th.
Is June 9th a Monday? So
June 9th was a Tuesday.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, June 9th is a Tuesday. It's kind of arbitrary, but that's just a date that I thought would be ideal for getting things together. A lot of times information comes out from the governor's office on a Monday, so then that would help us to make decisions on that particular date. So
yeah, I agree.
So I
mean, even if we don't have, Jeff, even if it's not a date, it's when we get phase 2 guidance from the governor.
Right. And to do any camps, it's really a phase 3 thing for the most part. That's what we're talking about. To fulfill all of the things, the requirements of the governor's office, that's basically a phase 3 activity. But that also fits in the calendar for most of our stuff. We have some camps that usually go off in late June, but we can try to play with the dates and fix those up if we can. But I think that June 9th would be a date that we can make a decision and then make an announcement to the public of what we're going to be trying to do. My request to the commission was to have one commissioner work with me on that so that I could, just have some input directly with them without having to wait for the next meeting to make a decision on that.
I'll do that, Jeff, as chair.
Okay. And that's all I had for that. Okay,
so let's get to the big stuff then. Let's talk about Peroni reopening.
Just to get everything in context, I believe most people, I didn't expect everyone to read through all the material I sent out to review, but with the Massachusetts reopening plan, May 25th, which is the day after Memorial Day, Tuesday, is the day that they are allowing beaches, parks to open up on a limited basis. So my recommendation to the board is to go with that, to actually open up Pironi Park and the park section of Sandy Pond on those dates. Currently, Sandy Pond's gates are locked, so we haven't had anybody in there except for one, and I'll talk about that in incidents. But aside from that, it's been locked. So I'd like to unlock that just for the park part of it, and then open up Pironi Park for use based on social guidelines set out by the governor's office. But of course, the parks has to agree with that. My understanding, and Scott Hood, I believe, is still here with us, and Scott Copeland, if he's here, I believe the selectmen did talk about this last night. I don't think they have any objections specifically to opening up the parks on the governor's recommendation of May 25th.
This is Scott. We touched upon it briefly in Robert's update. We don't have an opinion on it. It is the purview of the Parks Department, so we'll leave it up to this body to decide. And if there's anything you need from the selectmen for support in opening things up, please feel free to ask. We're happy to support you. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
So really, at Sandy Pond, it's the park only, right? Is the basketball court still have to stay closed, right?
It's for games and things like that. That's what they say, and that's actually part of the beach one. They don't want to have any at all, like volleyball or basketball organized games.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we have an adult volleyball group that generally comes down. We're not supposed to be allowing that, but I don't think we're supposed to. That we have to like zip tie the nets like a lot of people are doing. I think that you're allowed to open your courts up for those kinds of things. In fact, it actually says, opening courts. But that's supposed to be the restriction. It's more about the social distancing part of it. So if you're having a basketball game, obviously you can't social distance properly, but unless you're wearing a mask or something, and that's ridiculous. But if a couple of kids are shooting baskets, that's probably okay. So again, the commission can choose to restrict anything they want to, but my personal recommendation, unless it becomes prohibitive, is to allow the basketball and volleyball courts to be open for just passive recreational use.
How do we handle signage for this, and who's enforcing it?
Well, that's a good part of it. We do have some signs we've ordered. I don't know if you can see this, but we're going to have some yard signs that are going to be out, and they're not specific to something like, say, basketball, saying no games, no whatever. But I think that the whole idea of social distancing kind of states what that is. So if you're playing a basketball game, you're not social distancing. So I know what you're saying, Kevin. I know that might be creating a stir, and it's hard to say. But I think that the other side of it is to enforce it, is to zip tie the baskets. And again, I don't necessarily recommend that. I like the idea of kids being able to just shoot a couple baskets, things like that, which is what most of the use at the beach is. There's not a lot of games. Now, with the new courts that we just put up there, maybe there'd be more of an interest in that. But it's an interesting question. I don't have a specific recommendation for that. In fact, that's on my list of questions for the commission.
So, I think it's fine if we put the signage out. The park, open the parks as is. Let the hoops flow free, so to speak. My concern is, Kevin's concern too, though. If a full game does break out, who's coming down to stop it? Who's going to stop it? Are you going to roll through? Do we have the part-time maintenance stop it? Do we have to have Ayer Police Department come down?
Well,
or do we just let it go?
Yeah, that's another one of our lists for Heidi and myself. Both have the same questions on to the commission, just recommendations for enforcement for social distancing. That's a big question, and it's a national question. It's something that's facing all sorts of departments everywhere, whether it's in a
right.
supermarket line or anything. The police aren't necessarily, and I'm not saying the Ayer Police, because they're great, but just the police force in general, they got a job to do, and to add to their burden by saying every time they see a gathering of 11 people or a couple people standing 2 feet apart from each other, it's not within their purview, and it's certainly not something that we're going to be able to do on a regular basis either, for both lack of training for personnel and potential liability. So we got to be careful with that stuff. It's a strange new world, and putting out regulations like that are going to be hard to enforce. I'm not sure we can. I'd like to think that there's some things we can do. I'm certainly comfortable talking to people. I have talked to people already about that, where they're gathering in larger groups and letting them know that that's not acceptable. But if it's done in a friendly way, so far most people have been very receptive to it. I'd like to think that's going to continue.
Yeah. And look, I think we can continue that way. And if it gets out of hand, then we zip tie the nets, right?
Somebody agrees.
So,
so a couple
what
more
else
things.
about the?
A couple more things about the reopening for recommendations that we have, that Heidi and I both have, and we want some guidance from the commission on. Assuming that the dates for doing this are in place, as I said, for the parks to open up, that would be next Tuesday. For opening up to swimming would be June 12th, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Bathrooms, to open them and how to maintain them is going to be a question. For the beach itself, do we want to have a gate attendant on duty early on, or do we want to just have that open? The gate attendant at the beach in the early stages, even when we don't open up for swimming, may be something we want to have in place just to explain to people what the policies are and what the usage is. So that's something we may want to consider doing as well. But the biggest question that we did have was the bathrooms. And a couple thoughts we had with that, and talking to Robert in particular today, the Sandy Pond bathrooms, because they are old and they're not updated, they have a number of problems that make social distancing almost impossible. In fact, you cannot enter one while somebody's exiting without almost touching them. So that would be very difficult to maintain social distancing there. So my recommendation for Sandy Pond bathrooms are to have them locked and have the gate attendant have a key, just like if you went to use a bathroom at a gas station. And you would have to have them give you the key to open it up and have one person use it at a time. I think that would solve a lot of problems, and we don't really have a lot of backup for bathroom use at Sandy Pond. So that would be my recommendation for that. The bathrooms at the park, at the concession stand, are much better suited for public use. And if we're not having large gatherings or sports games or anything like that, I don't think there's going to be a lot of concern with social distancing there. It's more about maintenance with them. And Jason has talked to me specifically about some concerns he has with safety for personnel cleaning bathrooms and our ability to do that properly, and has sent us a number of ideas to help with that. I think that's something we can do to clean the bathrooms, fulfilling the governor's guidelines. For their recommendation, I thought it would be stricter, but they're recommending one thorough cleaning a day. I thought it would be more, but that's what they're finding acceptable. So if that's the case, I think that's something we can do. But that's
that's relying on people washing their hands. Right? You got to wash your hands. You go to the bathroom, wash your hands. You kind of threw out a few things there. As far as the gate attendant goes, that's probably a good idea. Just to, even with the park open before swimming, just to let everybody know this is what to expect, you know. So we should probably get that locked in there. As far as the beach bathroom goes, we're gonna make sure that the gate attendant has wipes, so that way they can wipe down the keys after every use. It's got to be done, and we got to make sure that they have rubber gloves too if they're going to be constantly touching things that other people are touching, because we can't ensure.
I assume that was a gloved operation.
It's a gloved operation, but also they got to be wiped down between each use, because we can't assume that people are washing their hands after every use, because certainly kids aren't always, and even adults. I've seen plenty of people leave bathrooms without washing hands. And B, I mean, you look at the numbers, 20% of people out there are carrying 20% of people that are carrying the disease don't show symptoms, you know, or they show symptoms later. So we don't know. And to make sure that these people, our gate attendants, are safe, and the next person that uses the bathroom is safe, those keys need to be wiped down after every use.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure if there was a better way to do that. I mean, our current system is to actually leave the door open because it's a partition in the bathrooms that allows privacy. So generally, when we have the bathrooms open, we have the door open. So this is just to ensure one person's use at a time. So again, I'm looking for recommendations from the commission on this, if they think that there's a better
Are we talking about
solution.
opening up the bathrooms before the 12th, or like I don't.
I would think this would be, we're talking on the 12th.
Okay. Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't know what our rush would be to open them before, right? If we're opening sort of a limited basis until we know exactly what the plan is and how we're going to do it, I would not rush to do anything in the next week or so.
Yeah, this would be based on opening at the swim season.
Okay.
We don't generally open bathrooms without the swim season.
So in every other year, the door is just open. So the only concern here is somebody going in and then another person coming out at the same time.
And maintaining social distancing in the bathroom itself, yes.
Yeah, all right. So I just got a text from a constituent with a suggestion. Why don't we post signage one person at a time? And then just like anything else, trust that people are going to socially distance themselves on their own. I mean, out on the sand, we've got to trust that they're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And then that eliminates the need for the key in the wiping. I don't like the idea of the key getting passed around like that. It's just it's kind of goes against what we're trying to do. So if we just leave the doors open, post one person at a time, and just trust in people to do the right thing.
Okay. Any suggestions on how we figure out if somebody's still in the bathroom or not? How do they know somebody's in there?
Well, you can see at the bottom of the partition, right? The partition doesn't go all the way to the floor.
I suppose you could go in and look and see somebody in there and then leave and then wait for them to come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect.
No, I know. There's no great solution to it. That's we can continue to work on. I think the more important thing is whether or not the commission wants to instill a one person, and meaning one person could be a child and adult, but one adult at a time rule in there.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. We should do that.
Okay, because we can make it work one way or the other. It sounds like the key idea is not going over too well, so we can try some other thoughts too.
Like you said, Jeff, I mean, it's the new norm. It's unprecedented. There's no perfect solution. Let's try something. And like Jason's saying, we can't monitor 24/7, but if it's not working, then maybe we have to come up with an alternate solution or think about it again.
It's not that the key is a bad idea, Jeff. It just needs to get wiped down. It needs to get disinfected after every use.
Yeah, well, we'll keep on working on it. We'll figure out something. But if the commission wants to do one at a time, that's terrific. We'll make a way to make that happen.
So then, now what about the cleaning? Are we going to have the right cleaning
materials,
chemicals, and make sure that all the staff that are going to be doing the cleaning are trained in how to use the PPE and how to use the chemicals safely?
That will be a challenge. Fortunately, we have a number of resources. You sent us a great thing. That PowerPoint thing is terrific. We also got some stuff from both the state and the federal government about proper chemicals and usage. So I think that we can put together some training. One thing I'd like to do is to equip every one of our staff members who are going to be doing the bathroom, and lifeguards, all lifeguards do clean the bathrooms at one point or another. Give them each a personal PPE kit. We'll have other PPE pieces of equipment as well that we're trying to procure through the town, and Heidi's been working really hard to get some stuff, but just to give everybody their own individual pieces of equipment that we're trying to put together a list. That would include at minimal, a set of masks, some gloves, and also some type of eye covering, whether it's goggles or a face shield or something of that sort. So we're going through a number of recommendations of that, and certainly would take suggestions of that. But my thought was to put together individual kits for each personnel member who's going to be cleaning the bathroom. That way, they're not going to be cross-contaminating like a face shield. That, in my opinion, should be worn by one individual and shouldn't be passed over to the next person wearing it tomorrow. You can try to clean those down and stuff like that, but I think I don't think they're that expensive, and it's just worth getting one for each person. That's my goal anyway, to try to set something like that up. But I'm pretty confident that we can do proper training with proper use of PPE. Heidi is going to be going over an entire PPE thing with the lifeguard staff, because that's a far deeper concern with being able to do waterfront safety, everything from water rescue to pulling a splinter out of somebody's toe. Each one of those has its own challenge, believe it or not, and they all require certain use of PPE that the guards will need to get some extra training from. And Heidi is we're so lucky to have her as a resource to be able to provide that training herself.
Right. Do we have any, are we going to get any guidance from the town? Let me ask this. What happens if we got a person get sick at one of our facilities? What's our protocol for that?
In terms of liability, I assume you're speaking?
No, like, who's going to clean it up? And are we prepared to clean it up? Yeah.
Cleaning up.
Well, no. The technical term is bulk contamination.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, everyone's got to be an expert in something, right?
Right.
So, we'd have to. So how do we do that? I believe that we have the ability to do that if we have to, and we have to. I mean, those are challenges that everyone's going to have to meet. I hadn't even thought about that. So we'll have to give that one some consideration, and probably about 24 other things that we haven't thought about yet too. But
I mean, I would assume that our town facilities department would be putting stuff together. I mean, it can happen anywhere. It can happen at town hall, DPW, police department. I mean, they may have some things, but really that's something that we need to consider. I mean, if it's outside in the grass, maybe we just hose it down and cordon it off, put caution tape 30 feet around it, and just make sure nobody goes there for that time. But if it happens in one of the bathrooms, that could be, that's a little different. So,
there's
definitely something we got to consider.
It sounds like, Jeff, that it's going to have to be a lot that comes together, right? And there's no, 6/12 is a target date, right? I mean, I don't think we should hesitate at all at extending that, right? If we're not 100% comfortable, yep. Right? I don't think anyone would be upset with a further delay. If we need it for whatever reason, for training, getting the equipment, answering these questions, anything's vague.
You're right, Kevin. That's the absolute earliest date we could open. So it's a target at best.
Yeah. And if at any point, I would think that's putting pressure on us being comfortable with what we're doing. We just step away from that date, right?
And not that we're supposed to be following what any other local town or organization is doing, but for the most part, Heidi and I have both been reaching around to various programs in towns, and that's pretty much the date that a lot of these places are going to try to open. Some are not going to open. I'll just briefly get into one thought that Heidi put out there, and it's some towns are considering doing a swim at your own risk program. I have never been a fan of that for a number of reasons. I believe it puts the town in a liable situation. I think that the selectmen may have touched on that at some point last night, but I believe they concur with that opinion as well. I'm not going to speak for either one of them, but that's my thought. And the commission can certainly weigh in on that. And we can ask town council more opinion on that if that's something that people wanted to explore. But I personally am not a great advocate of trying to seek that as a solution. but it's certainly something the commission can discuss.
No, I think you're right, Jeff. And Kevin, you make a great point. If we're not ready, then we push the dates back. We need to be at a place where everybody on our staff is going to be safe, and any patrons to our facilities are also going to be as safe as we can. And if we can't get to a point where we feel comfortable, if we can't get to a point where we feel that the safety of our lifeguards isn't going to be, in doubt, and then maybe we don't open the beach for swimming. If we feel comfortable, like we've given them enough training and PPE, and things are at a point in the state where, the caseloads are dropping and it's not as big of a risk, then we open it up. But we've got to see where we're at with all of these things. What about the maintenance? Or do we have anything else about reopening?
Well,
Who's it reopened to?
what's that, Kevin?
Who does the beach open to, right? Is it town residents
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that's the big question, right?
So it's something that Robert I'd asked him to pursue this with town council, our ability to open the beachfront for swimming just to town residents. Without getting into the whole thing, which I believe most commissioners are familiar with, for the history of Sandy Pond Beach and the allowance of non-residents to use it. Under these unprecedented times and difficulty in managing the facility, we do have some issues. One thing that Heidi and I both recommend is that we set up some type of limitation of number of patrons that are allowed inside of Sandy Pond, inside the gates. That number, she and I have been bouncing some idea numbers, but I'm coming up in my mind between 50 and 75 as maximum numbers to have in there. So all of those things lend to be more difficult if we have non-residents utilizing the pond. The biggest concern that I have with non-resident use is that there are going to be quite a few other beach options that are not going to be open this year, and that may drive up our non-resident interest in using our facility. So if that's the case, we may run into some real difficulties with numbers. So for management, under these emergency conditions, it would be a lot easier if we were able to just open to residents. Before pursuing that, I wanted to verify with the commission that's something that you may want to try to do.
I think so.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would keep it to residents if we could.
What's the normal capacity, Jeff? Like on a hot July Saturday, what are the numbers of patrons who are getting?
We could have up to 200 patrons in a day, throughout the day.
At any one particular time, we're pretty much at that max.
I would say, generally between 12 o'clock and when we open up and we get, that's the big hit. And then from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, it's pretty strong. It varies.
Okay. And in order to keep 6 feet apart, keep families 6 feet apart, we're thinking to go down to, I'm sorry, you say 50 or 75?
Between 50 and 75 is just,
Okay.
numbers I would just throw out, initially to, and so you'd probably, in trying to be safe, lean toward the lower number. So, 50 sounds like probably the closest number that I'd consider recommending.
Is it 50 individuals or 50 families?
Individuals.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah,
of course, creates challenges when, like, for example, ACP, they're considering coming to visit us if they can in July. So we got some time with them, and they're probably going to be a smaller group I think Sarah can weigh in on that, but I believe their group's going to be small this year. But their normal group would be about 50 people. So it's it's a pretty good sized group right off the bat. So I think that'll be smaller this year. But that kind of gives you an idea. If you've been down the beach before and you just saw the numbers with ACP, that's about 50 people. Sarah, is that correct?
Correct. Typically, that would be, an average number. But again, we're waiting on further guidance from the governor as far as what our enrollment can even look like this summer, which we expect to be much smaller.
But I'm thinking of using that as a visual. So if we took the beach, made it empty except for ACP use, and assumed all those people were all didn't know each other, and we wanted to spread them all out safely, I think we'd have just enough space to do that. So that's where I come up with that number of 50 to 75.
I could agree with that.
We wouldn't even know at this point, right? It would depend on when we opened, who we're allowing in, and what the patronage looks like, right? Before we could even just figure out if ACP could come in, right? If we're limited town residents, we have 50 a day, or how do we put another program on top of that?
It's a great point. And that's where, one thing that ACP does is they come in pretty early too. They generally come in just as we open up. So that probably would take care of itself. But then anyone wanting to come in would be told they would need to wait, or told that they're better off coming back at, say, 2:00.
I think we're not even there yet, but maybe we could accommodate ACP in the morning before opening or something to make it happen. But it's tough if you just say one group takes 50 people and wipes out everybody else.
I don't foresee our enrollment being
hours.
that high this summer, but I agree. Something we can work towards. And again, we don't even know if we can get these kids on a bus this summer. We're just kind of at a holding point for us.
That's a pretty creative solution, Jason. I kind of like that. If that's something ACP could swing, if we could do that more morning hours, and just create their own hours for that might be something we could do.
Yep.
So I think that's, all falls in within stuff that we can manage.
I think when it all comes together on beach, right? It's almost there's a lot of questions, right? But it almost sounds like the commission would have to come back together and just get an update as where we land on training and the PPE and the bathroom plans and what the signage will look like and what town support there'll be for some of these questions that are out there. I don't know. It's so many moving parts still that even would go to it before I would think anyone would want to sign off on a 6/12 date.
Yeah, that's moving parts is I think the perfect phrase, Kevin. So many things are up in the air and in motion. So we hopefully will get a lot more information prior to June 12th to make better decisions on how we can do this. And, we'll put together that plan, and then I'll send it out to commission, and we can decide if that's something that we're going to be comfortable doing. I'd like to think that, it's a good goal and we got a decent shot at it. But if we can't do it, then, no promises. We'll do what we can.
What if we, and I know this is obviously the last bullet on the agenda, but what if we did a meeting on June 10th?
That would
What
be,
if we had our next meeting on June 10th?
If we can swing it, might be good.
You'll have new board members.
Well, I mean, you hope, right?
That's right. Because when's the election? 6/2.
I'll have to get them up to speed quickly. But
And
it
so-
doesn't have to be a full park meeting. It can just be
current board members
Sorry,
are certainly invited to come, and please do, because your wisdom would be highly required. It'd be great to have you guys still participate in this final conversation, even as non-commissioners. So if you guys could come, that'd be great to finish up.
We can do that. I know I can, so just let me know if, Jason, you need to get it done on the 10th. I'll be happy to be there.
I appreciate it. I think that's the date. It doesn't have to be a full park meeting, but it's a special meeting to make final decisions on, or who knows if they're even going to be final, but
You can do basketball. You can do figure out baseball, soccer, and update on the beach all at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and we used June 9th in earlier conversations on this, but maybe we can just push that to June 10th then to make those decisions.
I mean, it can be June 9th. The 10th was a Wednesday. We can do the 9th. I don't. It's going to be after the state releases further guidance on phase 2, but before we want to reopen the beach. So I just said June 10th. That'll give us some time to digest what the state has. Then we may have some further town guidance on top of that, and it might give us a couple days.
And I think at any point, if you hear from Heidi or Jeff, you feel that like there's more time needed for training or like to bring the pieces together on the beach, like you push it a week, right? Like I don't know if if it's not all together on the 10th.
It doesn't happen, Kevin, yeah, like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to have that date out there, and if you in the next couple of days, it looks like that's going to be hard to do. I think you're better off giving out a proactive message to say, hey, we're still working on this, right? 6/12 is going to be hard, and now we're looking at 6/19 or whatever that is, or 6/17, some whatever the date. But I wouldn't want to have the 6/12 get in the way of us getting it done the right way.
Right. You could just advertise that would be the earliest that things would open, pending, everything falling into place, so that people know that it could be the 12th. It could be later.
I think
I don't think Heidi's
that's what we said, right?
Open until she knows that her staff is fully ready.
Yeah. And I think we said 6/12 as the earliest potential date, but
Where did that go out? Just where was that communicated?
I believe it's on.
Where we?
I believe it's on social media. I think Heidi posted on the pond.
It was on the pond social media. It was on the town social media. It's been reposted on Facebook, I've been told. So the word has been out there pretty solid. But again, that's the earliest. It was stated the earliest. It wasn't stated the date.
Right. It says that it's appropriate to open not prior to at least June 12th, which would have been the final day of school. Just as we've begun the process of writing policies for when it's deemed safe to open.
Okay.
The web page has like sort of the regular annual message on there about opening the 25th. So we probably should, Jeff, you probably have whoever updates that.
What's that, Kevin?
On the website.
We have last year's dates on the Sandy Pond Beach.
Oh, okay.
tab.
All right. So yeah, we'll be updating all that. Also, we'll be wanting to send out, just in terms of messaging to the public. We'll be wanting to put out that plan. So I'll try to put that together tomorrow, and I believe Jason, I was working on that with you. Is that who it was?
Yeah. I don't think we put out anything. Like, we don't have to have a plan put out tomorrow, but I think the messaging for the public at this point is, we're going to have a meeting when we can make that final decision, the 9th or the 10th. I was referring to
opening Peroni Park and the park section of Sandy Pond, not opening.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then the public messaging for opening for swimming, I agree that we got some time to get that out, but, we can probably put out a message with that as well, that, we're continuing to work on that. Just an update on it.
Yeah, I think the message for swimming, we could just say the update is we've set a meeting date to review the gating criteria for reopening. If we feel we've met it at that time, we'll stick to the 12. We don't have to say all this stuff, but and you can write it however you want to write it. I don't know that. a gating criteria is kind of like a project management term, I suppose, but so however you want to rewrite that, but you know, that can be the update for the public on the swimming.
Okay, and I'll work with Heidi on that too, because I know that she wanted to post something on the Sandy Pond Facebook page as well. So she and I, and by the way, she, most of these points, she gave me a bunch of points to go over, and I've gone over them all already with her, but she could not make it today due to work. That's why she's not here with us so far.
Okay. Yeah, we can check with her to see about that date in June too, if one day works better than the other, because it would be good to have her.
Okay.
At that meeting.
Okay.
All right. What we only got a handful of minutes left. We could talk about the maintenance, PPE requirements and training. I don't know if you have any further stuff to talk about with that.
We already talked about most of the stuff I was going to go over already. The kits for the employees, the training that we're going to be giving them. So that's all I really had for that. The town is working to try to help out departments to get PPE equipment. So the building manager, Chuck Schultz, is working to try to get more PPE for everybody and buying it in bulk, because that was the problem we were running into. We were having trouble finding things without having to buy like 25,000 masks. That was silly. But, the town could buy quite a few and then, pass them around and then, give them out to fire and police later. So. But I covered most things unless there's any questions on PPE.
No. Is there any other items you need decisions on tonight? You need a vote on?
Myself, no. No, I think that covers everything that we had.
Okay. Are you okay just providing the rest of the items? Any other updates in an email?
I'm okay with that. Just update with what we're doing with our projects. Town meeting, just as a reminder, it's, I don't know if anybody has the dates off the top of their head, but we still got some time. I believe it's going to be, actually, we're going to have another meeting before the next town meeting. So that'll actually be, we can go over that stuff at that point.
Okay, so our next meeting, then, I think we would do the beach reopen meeting, like I said, the 9th or the 10th, whatever Heidi can do between those. The next full meeting, want to keep the 3rd week of June? Or you want to do that out till like the 25th?
Oh, to have two
the week
meetings?
Of the 22nd. Yeah, I mean, I think that meeting in the 1st, I just think we should completely focus on where we at with reopening the swimming. Just talk about that. Also whatever we've learned from the first couple weeks of being reopened at the parks too. And then we can have a full meeting when we actually talk about the other stuff later on in June. If that makes sense.
Do we know when the elections are?
The 2nd.
Okay, so any new commissioners will be sworn in at enough time to be able to vote on anything. And then my recommendation would be to not set up a second meeting in June until you can do that at the first meeting in June. You can decide, when you want to do that second meeting. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Anything else important? Super important in the next 4 minutes?
No, we covered a lot of stuff. That's great. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, no, thank you. Hope everybody's staying safe.
Yeah, actually, I did want to make one last comment, if I could. We're going to be losing Kevin and Jeff and of course, Rich. Thank you very much for serving on the commission. You guys have been great. I hope you're going to want to keep on participating as non-commissioners with park events, but you guys have been absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much for being there for all the stuff that we do. I know that all of the employees and myself really recognize that you guys were fantastic commissioners. So thank you very much for your service.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You'll be missed.
We'll be around.
We're writing Kevin Williams.
And Jeff Testa.
All right. Yeah, thanks everybody. I guess we'll take a motion to adjourn and have a good evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn 5:57.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. Have a good night,
guys.
everybody.